So I do not have an audience today. They went to a baseball tournament today and they decided to stay. So I'm going to do my speech without them, even though I know I'll lose points for it. So let's begin. So DNA makes up who we are. Without DNA, we would not survive and we wouldn't exist on this planet. DNA is found in everything. Our genetic information passes on through us and through our generation, and it will self-replicate our whole lives, making our survival and adaptation much better. You know, everything here has DNA, so it connects us all in its own way. Our makeup gives us the ability to be so different yet so similar, and we have our own identity from the other billions of people on this planet. So throughout school and high school and college, you take biology classes about how DNA is the genetic makeup of who we are. So it's important that we use it and helps us in everyday ways. DNA was founded back in the 1860s, but wasn't widely known or used. So up until the 1950s, almost 100 years later, we had better technology to use and make DNA more achievable to use. So in the medical field, we use it to identify diseases and how to protect them. In the criminal justice, we use it to identify criminals and how the murder scene or how the crime scene looked. And we can also use it to find genetic makeup all over the world and who we're connected to. So in the medical field, DNA is passed from a parent to a child by chromosomes, and it gives you traits. Blue hair, blonde eyes, those are all traits you have. So sometimes when you're young, you get mutated genes, which sometimes is common, damaged by mothers drinking and smoking while you're in the womb, accidents, premature babies. All of them have genes that are called mutations, and mutations are what scientists look for diseases and mental states of others, to find abnormalities in the DNA of what didn't get copied correctly while it passed on. So when we look at it if it is in one person, is it just passed on mother's or father's side, or if it's just in that one person. The medical field has benefited from that, so they can find ways to understand it, manage it, or stop it in a big realm. Even though it's on a spectrum and everybody's different, they have some type of basis for it. And as we move forward with more technology, medical used it first, and then we used it in solving crimes. So at crime scenes, we use blood, saliva, and fingerprints mostly to find out who was there and where they went. So if they find a blood spatter or a drop of sweat or something like that, they can take the DNA from it and classify it into tiny pieces. And because our DNA is so different from everyone else's, once they have a match, they can identify who it belongs to, and it wouldn't be wrong because DNA is not similar in anybody else. Forensic evidence is so important to the criminal justice system now. We don't solve crimes like we used to, like a paper trail. We look for a DNA trail. We want to find a fingerprint, a drop of sweat, a blood spot. That's important to have. And now, with the technology so great, we can go so far back in our family lineage. We use that DNA to connect with families we've lost, either through adoption, through war and crisis, or even if you just got separated at some point. Now we can find a similar DNA structure to put forward. We can just find out who we are and who we were. And we can even go so far back as to use like Ancestry to find the DNA of where our ancestors came from. So, you could have ancestors from all over the world and you wouldn't even know it because you only can go so far back with a paper trail. So I believe that DNA is the makeup of our lives. We would not exist without it. And as we move forward with technology and DNA, our lives wouldn't be so different, if we could understand how similar we are, and that our DNA makes our lives easier and far better to understand that we may be so different on that level, that we're so connected through DNA.